Welcome back, fellow developers. Today, we are diving deep into one of the fundamental aspects of programming in JavaScript, which is loops. Whether you are just starting out or looking to sharpen your skills, understanding loops is very crucial for writing efficient and concise code. So, let's jump right in. Before we get into the nitty-gritty details, let's talk about what loops are and why they are important. Loops are structures in programming that allow us to repeat a block of code multiple times. They help automate repetitive tasks, making our code more efficient and easier to maintain. There are three main types of loops in JavaScript. One, for loop. Second, while loop. Third, do while loop. Each serves its purpose and can be used depending on the specific requirements of your code. For starters, let's explore the for loop. The for loop is excellent for iterating over arrays or executing a block of code a specific number of times. Here's a basic syntax for a for loop in JavaScript. Below is the for loop syntax, where for loop serves initialization, condition, increment and decrement, which is also called as update. Inside that for loop, the code, that means your logic, have to be written inside the for loop. So after that, the initialization step is where we initialize our loop counter. The condition is evaluated before each iteration, and if it's true, the code inside the loop is executed. Finally, the increment decrement step allow us to update the loop counter after each iteration. Let's see a practical example. First of all, we will go to the VS Code editor. So here, let's create one more file inside the basic folder. So the file name should be as a loops.js. Okay. So first of all, we are talking about the for loop. As we saw, its syntax is like this. For loop, inside which first initialization will happen. After the initialization, their condition will be written. After the condition, increment or decrement should be there. Okay. So inside that for loop, the code, the logic have to be written, which is to be executed. Okay. So this is the syntax of for loop. So after this, let's try to figure out how for loop exactly works in a practical scenario. Let's try to implement one example where we will try to print the values from 0 to 10 or 1 to 10. Okay. So for that, we have to take one for loop. After typing for, there you have got a couple of suggestions: for loop, for each, for in, form, for of. But instead of taking this dynamically, we will try to pass it manually because we are in a learning phase. So first of all, just write for, make it a function, and inside which write initialization step. So for the initialization, type let I is equals to 0, then I is less than or equals to 10, then I plus plus. Now I plus plus is exactly what? This is the increment. If you want to write decrement, you must write I minus minus. So it's a decrement. But for, in this example, we are doing the increment. And the middle part is a condition. The condition is like I is less than or equals to 10. So when I will explain this code, you will get the better understanding how exactly it works. So let me write the logic behind inside the for loop. So for that, here the logic should be whatever the initialization condition and its increment or decrement that already we have implemented inside the for loop. The most of the logic is implemented inside the for loop. So coming inside that for loop, there we will try to print out that value. So for that, I will write console.log and let's try to print out this I value. So if you want to give any message to it, you can give it like for loop demo example Okay, now let's try to run this program. So for that we have to go to the view, then come out to the terminal. Once you come to the terminal, let me make it some bit visible. Okay, now here we are in a JavaScript. First of all, we have to go to the basic folder to run this program, as we have created a file inside the basic folder. So cd basic, then let's try to print out that program by typing loops.js and hit enter. Now here you could see that we have got the output from 0 to 10. First 0 got printed, then 1, then 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6 and so on. Now let me explain you how it got printed. First we have initialized I is equals to 0. That means we have initialized the value. The I value is 0. After giving the value I as 0, then the condition got checked. Like condition here, the I is equals to 0. So the condition have checked that whether that 0 is less than or equals to 10. If this condition becomes true, then it will jump onto the increment decrement. So in this case, the condition is true because 0 is less than 10. So this condition becomes true, then it jumps onto the increment and decrement part. So here we have applied increment. So it will get increment by 1. So 0 will become 1 here, and that same 1 will get print out here in a console.log. And so that's why we have got 1. Now the current value of I is 1. Now coming to the condition, now again it will check the condition whether that I is less than or equals to 10. So current I value is 1. So 1 is less than or equal to 10. The condition becomes true because 1 is less than 10. So here the condition becomes true. Now it will jump to the increment part. So it will get incremented by 1. So 1 will become 2. And this increment will increment the value by 1. Okay. So here that 1 will become 2 and that same value will get printed here in a I. Then only after that 1 becomes 2. The same condition happens again. Now the I value is 2. Okay. Now it will check the condition whether the 2 is less than 10. Yes, the 2 is less than 10. So the condition becomes true. Now it will increment the value because the condition becomes true. Now it's time for the increment. Now that 2 will get incremented by 1. So it will become 2 plus 1 equals to 3. Now that same 3 will get printed out here. So after the 2 we have got the 3 value, and so on till 10 value got, till the 10 value will comes up here. It will follow the same process. Once the 10 got printed out, it will again get reset to 0 because we have set the limit I is less than or equals to 10. So it will not go ahead of 10. It will because we have set one limit to the 10. It will not cross the 10. So whatever it will get printed, that will get printed up to the 10. Okay. So this is how for loop works. Now let's move on to the while loop. The while loop continues to execute a block of code as long as the specified condition evaluates to true. The syntax of a while loop looks like this. While. Inside that while loop, we have to write a condition. So once you enter into the while loop, there you have to write your code logic, that code to be executed. The condition is evaluated before executing the loop, and if it's true, the code inside the loop is executed. The loop continues until the condition becomes false. So let's get into the VS Code editor. When you come to the VS Code editor, let me minimize the terminal. Let me comment out this program. Okay. So it's time for while loop. Now exactly while loop, how it looks like. So first of all, I will write the syntax here. The syntax said for while loop. So, syntax of while. Now let me tell you the interesting thing about the while loop and do while loop. The interesting thing is while loop will get executed once the condition becomes true. But when it comes to the do while loop at least run once. That we will see in the next part of this loop. So first of all, we are onto the while loop, and here we are writing the syntax. Just write while, inside which give the condition. After writing the condition, inside this you have to write your statement, or you can say code to be executed. That same logic you have to implement inside the while loop. Okay, let me explain you. When we initialize something, some value, let's say initialize. Okay, now here we will initialize the value. Once at this part the value got initialized, the while loop will check that condition, whether that condition is true or false. Once this condition will becomes true, it will continue to the next part of the code. That means it will enter into the while loop, and that code will get executed. If this condition becomes false, it will get terminate here, and it will jump onto the next part of the code. That means it will get come out of the loop. So this is how while loop works. Now let's see a practical example. First of all, I will print one value. I will initialize one value by implementing a let I. Let's not take I. Let me take num. Num is equals to, I will say 1. Okay. Now inside which I will write the while loop, inside which I will type the condition num is less than or equals to 10. The same thing we will do here by printing the value from 1 to 10. Okay, let me clear the terminal first. Now here inside the while loop we have written the condition. Okay, so after writing the condition, we'll write the statement of it. That means what logic we have to implement it, that should be written inside the while loop. So here I will write CLG, inside which I will write I. Then I will mention increment, decrement. Okay, so let's try to print out this value, whether it is working or not. So let me expand the terminal. So let's type that same command node loops.js and hit enter. Now here what they have mentioned, I is not defined because we have given the num. So here also we have to write num. Okay, so it will become num plus plus. Okay, so again clear out this. Oops. Clear and write node loops .js and hit enter. Now here you got to see that it's running 1, 2, 3 and up to the 10. Okay, so let me explain you this code. Here you could see the num value is currently 1. Okay, the num value is 1. When after initializing the value for num, the num is 1. At the initial value of num is 1. When it comes to the while loop, this while loop will check the condition whether this 1 is less than equals to 10 or not. Now after checking the condition, it got to know that yes, 1 is less than 10. So the condition becomes true. Now it will jump onto the next part of the code, that is a console.log. So it will print that value and then it will increment the value by 1. So 1 will become 2. That's why the 2 is getting printed. The same thing again it will happen. Now that num is 2, then again while loop will check the condition whether the condition becomes true or not. Now the num is 2, so 2 is less than or equals to 10. Yes, the condition becomes true because 2 is less than 10. So it will jump onto the next part, which is a console.log num. So it will print the value, then it will increment that value by 1. So 2 will become 3. The same thing will happen again. Now the num is 3. So while loop will check the condition whether the 3 is less than 10 or not. Yes, the condition becomes true because 3 is less than 10. Now it will print that value and it will increment that value by 1. So 3 will become 4. So this is how it exactly works as like a for loop. And the limit that we have set, that is a 10. So it will not pass the 10. It will get limit up to the 10. It will not cross the 10. So this is how the while loop works. Okay, now lastly we have the do while loop. Similar to the while loop, the do while loop executes a block of code as long as the specified condition is true. However, the key difference is that the do while loop guarantees that the code inside the loop is executed at least once before checking the condition. Here's how you can use the do while loop. This is the syntax of do while loop, where the do have to be written and inside which you have to pass the code, but the condition should be written at the last of the loop. In this loop, the code block is executed first and then the condition is evaluated. If the condition is true, the loop continues, otherwise it exits. So let me come out here. Let me hide the terminal first, and also let me clear the terminal. I will comment out this code so that we will not get confused. Now currently we are talking about do while loop. So do while loop is exactly what? You can say the do while loop is also the member of loop family. The do while loop is also similar to the while loop, but here while loop, what exactly happens? Inside a while loop, the condition should be written first. In do while loop, the condition will be written at last. Let me tell you the syntax here. So the do is written first, then inside you have to write your code that to be executed. Okay, at the last you have to write the condition and then write a semicolon. Now the main difference about the while loop, the first difference that we have discussed, in while loop the condition is written first, and to the do while loop the condition is written at very last. Okay, but here in while loop, once the condition will becomes true, then only this code will get executed. If the condition becomes false, it will not get executed. As I say, in while loop, once the condition becomes true, then only code will get executed. Now coming to the do while loop, here at very beginning the condition is not applied, so it will not think about the condition. It will execute at least once, then it will check the condition. So this is the main difference. Actually, while loop will execute only after checking the condition, and do while loop will execute at least once, whether the condition is false or true, it doesn't matter, but do while loop will execute at least once. Now let me show you the practical example. So here I will write do, inside which I will write the code. So the code which I will write console.log, and inside which I will set a number. But before writing, let me initialize the value int number is equals to 1. Okay. Now let me increment that value, and here I will write the condition which is in a while. So this is a do and this is a while, so that's why it is called as do while. Okay. Now inside which I will say number is less than or equals to 10. Again same thing we will do here. I think you have recognized what mistake we have committed again here. That is a number. Okay. Now, here let should be given. Okay. Anyways, the error have been gone. Now here, first of all, we have initialized the value let number is equals to 1. Then after that, do while loop have to be mentioned there. So here at a do while loop, the condition is not applied. So first it will not check the condition. It will get executed first. Once it got executed, then it will check the condition, whether the condition is true or false. Now let's try to print out this value, whether this is working or not. So here I will type the command node loops.js and hit enter. Let me expand the terminal and let me bring out the code. Should be visible. Now here you could see that we are getting the values from 1 to 10. Now if I try to explain this code, this works in a similar way as for loop and while loop works. First, the value got initialized, number is equals to 1. Then after that, it prints the value, it incremented that value, and then it checks the condition whether that condition is true or false. First 1 got printed, okay, then later on it checks the condition by incrementing the value. So 2 is less than or equals to 10. So 2 is less than 10, so the condition becomes true. Okay, now the true is got printed. Same thing, now let number is 2. Let me try to explain you in a simple manner. Now here we have initialized the value number is equals to 1. Now 1 got printed, okay, then later on it got incremented by 1. First 1 is printed out already. Now here it will get incremented as a 2. Now here the condition will get checked. 2 is less than equals to 10. So 2 is less than 10, the condition becomes true. Okay, now number is 2. Now that same number will get printed first. 2 got printed, then it will get incremented by 1. Okay, once it got incremented, again it will check the condition. 3 is less than 10. Yes, 3 is less than 10. So it will pass that value to the number. So number now becomes 3. Now it will print out that value here. Now the 3 got printed out. So this is how it will work from 1 to 10. And as I mentioned, 10 is the limit that we have set. If I set the limit as 20, and if I try to run this program, it will run till the 20. Here you could see. Now by applying the value here, something like 20, that you are passing the limit. Now that we have covered the basic of for, while and do while loops. And there you have it, folks. Loops are powerful tools in JavaScript for automating repetitive tasks and iterating over data. Whether you are iterating through arrays, processing user input, or implementing complex algorithms, mastering loops is essential for average JavaScript developers. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more coding tutorials and tips. Until next time, happy coding.